Okay, you see this guy? You see the picture of this guy? Do not be like this guy. So it was suggested to me that I check out this INTJ channel's video. I'd seen the channel before, but I don't think I'd ever clicked on it because I just thought INTJ. It's like, you're calling the channel INTJ, it's probably all about INTJ stuff. It's not a surprise that INTJ and INFJ stuff get the most clicks. And of course, they would have a channel dedicated to themselves. Now, I'm not saying that's what this guy's channel even was. It's just that there is enough of that going around. So I click on this video. Wow! It's an hour long. A full hour. A full hour, it's probably like 55 minutes or something. It was long, right? So I watched the first 5 minutes and I'm thinking, okay, this looks like the same kind of stuff that people say about MBTI when they're not really into it, but they sort of, they're not interested, right? Maybe you're talking about it a little bit too much and they want to let you know that they think this is a sham. They're not really doing too much research, but, you know, it's the basic stuff. The same kind of stuff you'd say about, say, a horoscope, right? Quick trip. So I watched this whole thing. As in, I have it on, and I'm looking over it occasionally, because I'm still playing Horizon Zero Dawn. And it is stressing me out and draining me as I hear this guy just blah, 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 blah. He's kind of got this Tip Tucker, Jeff Gordon southern accent. He kept using the word dabble. Probably heard the word dabble about 50 freaking times. Now again, try not to make fun of him. Well, and what this guy's video, I think it's called The Dark Side of MBTI or something. What this guy's video is about is he's talking about how I've had this channel, I deleted all my videos. This video, the comments are turned off, the rating system is off, and he just put it out there on a channel with 11,000 subscribers, which is a lot to me, right? I got 2 channels, and I don't really see him reaching that anytime in the near future. And he's saying MBTI is a bunch of crap. It has these paganistic, occultist roots. It's a lie. I've been living a lie. I've been helping feed into the lie. And you guys need to understand the lie for what it is, too. It was so similar to this INTJ blogger that had a site. The reasons that he gave it up and shut his site down, the reasons it was like that, I thought, is this the same guy? Then I watched this guy's video, and I'm thinking, did he do it again? Did he not learn his lesson? He shut down that other site and then he made a channel? Has this been him? Because it's the same thing. The reasons they give for why MBTI is such a crock of poop, and how you're feeding into it, you're giving into it. I'm not going over the whole thing, right? I'm not going, just quick bulletin points. I guess I'm at the point with MBTI where it's like, the stuff that I think is crappy about it it's all still there, right? And I think the system still works. Now, the way this guy talked about it, I would not bother arguing with this guy if I had the chance to talk to him. I would not bother talking to him about it, because it's like, okay, you're done. You don't care about it, or you're fed up with it. You think it's crap. Sure, be done. I don't think it's something that people need to live by. Part of what frustrated me about the video, though, was, I mean, hearing his voice and the way his delivery of everything, that kind of annoyed me. But it was also because it was this, and I'm going to leave type out of it as far as he's concerned, right? Just for argument's sake. I'm going to leave type out of it as best I can, even though this is about type. But as far as an analysis of him is concerned, it was all this just sort of like, and it came from this, and this is where it started, and this Carl Jung guy, oh, he's so messed up, and he talked to a demon named Philemon, or whatever that freako weird vision. I don't know if you know Jung, who started all of this originally before it was Myers-Briggs. Yeah, he was a total freaking weirdo. He was, by the end of his life, he had his own little cult. He didn't call it a cult, but that's what it was. And he had plenty of his own problems. And what this guy kind of goes on about is, if you're religious, I don't see how you can follow this because it's got pagan roots. If you're atheist, how can you follow this? Because it's a pseudoscience. There's several things about all of this that I want to say, and I just haven't had the time to actually write down, okay, I definitely want to argue against that. I definitely want to bring that up. Ultimately, what it is, though, if you've watched my other videos on MBTI, with the exception of I think the last one where I just plainly talked about SE and TE, all of my other videos have pretty much been, don't become this. Don't do what this guy's doing. Don't look at MBTI the way this guy's looking at it. And he brings that up. He says now a lot of these people are going to say, oh, that's just people misusing it. That's not type. That's not the system. That's people. They just don't know what they're talking about. No, it's the system. I talked to a friend one time and I said, what's the perfect system for a country to run on? And he says, well, in a perfect world, it's socialism. And I was saying, well, what do you mean a perfect world? Like, how would that actually work? And he says, well, I mean, it'd be great if it weren't for the people. And I've heard this before. And I had to remind him, if you're taking the people out of it, if you're taking human nature out of it, you're taking what it's actually about, what the system is actually for. This is what a lot of people do. They take it so seriously. They dive in. They keep going. They're going to find the treasure, right? They're going to find the treasure in the shipwreck. This is theirs. They're finally there, off the coast of wherever this treasure map told them they should go. And then all of a sudden they just go, they realize they don't have a mask on. They don't have oxygen. They can't breathe. They're drowning. They gotta get out of here. It's like, yeah, you didn't account for the fact that you can't breathe underwater. So how am I relating that to this guy? You cannot envelop yourself into a model of thinking that is not meant to base your life around, right? Teach people, accumulate 11,000 subscribers just talking about all the different nuances of everything, and you live your life by this thing, and then you get shocked when you find out that this isn't actually meant for you to live by. Now, I've refuted the Vox video who says just use it for fun. I'm like, well, this isn't fun if there's no truth to it, and that's what they were saying, was that there's no validity to this at all. I'm trying not to ramble. Like, again, I watched that guy and I just kept, like, God, freaking depressing me, man. The mental hurdles this guy's going through because he's not into it anymore. And he thinks this is full of crap, and you can think that, and that's fine. And not everybody needs to adhere to this, and not everybody's going to, and who cares if they don't, and you shouldn't be obsessed with it either, right? It's like, how do you discount for the fact that the kind of people who this guy's criticizing, people who just say, oh no, this guy was saying if he'd known about type when he met his wife, he would have looked at any problems they had and said, oh, well, this just isn't going to work out because she's like this and I'm like this. And then when people find out that what him and his wife's type are, then they act like, oh, I didn't think that would work. And his attitude is just kind of like, yeah, and if it were for type, then it wouldn't have worked because blah, blah, blah. Everything is type's fault. It's like, dude, come on, man. It is what you make it. How serious are you about this, right? You were too serious. Whenever I hear about the whole occultist or pagan roots, so now you can't use it, it's like, okay, what is Halloween? I hear the same thing about Christmas. What's the guy who runs Pepsi and Doritos? Is he a Satanist? We don't know. But does that mean every time I eat a triangle-shaped Cooler Ranch Dorito, I'm somehow like giving energy off to the Illuminati? It's just this retarded stuff where it's like, what is the current model, right? It was developed then by Myers and Briggs, right? Who were Christians, okay? Do you have a problem with that? But just look at it for what it is, dude. It's a personality thing. Most people aren't even in it the way you're into it. Now, a lot of people, they look for answers, right? That's what we're all looking for in some way. I would advocate again that MBTI not be your result, but just be a method to get to your result. Well, what is your result? Who you are, right? And don't focus so much on yourself. Whenever I've covered this so many times before when it comes to people just acting like, don't you think that this could do more harm than good? Yeah, and I think that anything can do that. Too much you need to be in the sun at sometimes. Too much exposure to the sun will burn you. You will get skin cancer, right? And so I think that this guy, with the way that he's thinking, his brain rattling, I imagine his attitude being, oh yeah, that's playing with fire. That's playing with fire, boy. Dog won't hunt that hoe down. You know, that's playing with fire. You think you can control this? You don't think it's going to take you over, right? But it's like, no, I mean, don't let it control you in the way that if you eat too much, you will have problems in some way or another, right? Digestive problems, depending on what you're eating, you get fat, whatever. I just think, what was this guy doing? Was he worshiping like a golden statue of Carl Jung, and then all of a sudden he was like, oh, what have I been doing? It's like, maybe I just don't, for all of my theatrics and my you know, the dramedy that happens inside of this car about MBTI, it's guys like him that just make me think, wow, okay, this is really making me feel good. Like I've never really, for all I've talked about MBTI, for all I've been in all the ways I've been an advocate for it in one way or another, I guess I've never really taken it that seriously. I just haven't, because I'm hearing this guy and it's like, hey, you're not wrong about a lot of this stuff. You know, or the way you're looking at it, it's like, that's not inaccurate, you know, to you necessarily. But when you just talk about it like, it's a J thing. I finally done it. Bringing type into it. It's a J thing to act like, this is what it is. This is all it can ever be. If anybody thinks it's anything differently, you just haven't caught up yet. Now, if we're going outside of type talk, there are just some people. Is that better? There are just some people that when they decide that something is right, when they decide that they've thought it through enough and they've come to their answer, now anyone who disagrees, oh, they're just being conned. When are you going to smarten up, boy? You just don't get it yet. No, dude, you're just supposed to, it's give and take. This fits, this doesn't. That's accurate, that's not so much. You don't look at any, and I'm not just talking to him, I'm talking to anybody that does the kind of things that this guy was talking about. I can't exactly recommend that you watch the video other than to just sort of know what I'm talking about. You don't, I've dealt with a lot of people who did that. They take the test and they say, ooh, I got ENFJ, and then they have their boyfriend take it. And they don't really care, they don't really know what ENFJ is. They were, this particular person that I'm coming up with, they actually were ENFJ. So it's like, oh, you know, actually, I think this is fitting. Then they had their boyfriend take it. Their boyfriend got INTJ. Come to find out, she basically took the test for him, because for some reason, a lot of couples like to do that when they take this. They like the idea of being, I'm the thinker version, you're the feeler version of me. We're the same, but we're thinking and feeling. Blah! I try to let them know, okay, yeah, but just because you're thinking and feeling doesn't mean that's compatible. If you're compatible, you're compatible. It doesn't really matter your type. Now, I don't think INTJ dark side guy could handle that information. I think it would be like, oh boy, you're going down that road where the fire is not cleansing and it only burns until you got nubs. I don't know. I'm just, you know, trying to come up with some Dr. Phil-isms. Oh boy, that possum in there, he can turn over and play dead, but he ain't gonna drink the water unless you lead him to the river on the front side of the Mississippi. Anyway, this thing is not supposed to control you. You're supposed to, you know, oh dude, I almost used the word dabble. Ugh, he's like, beat that word into my head. I heard an hour of the dabbling in this and the dabbling in that. This video had an effect on me, and it was not positive. Other than the fact that it's like, I'm so glad that pretty much every video I put on MBTI has been things that were speaking out against exactly the kind of thing that this guy's saying. Oh, it's just, you can't do it. Everybody acts like they knows where this comes from, and they don't know where, and nobody knows what this is. One of his reasons for it being crap is people not agreeing. You know, people not agreeing on what somebody's type was. It's like, who freaking cares? Who cares? You have a bunch of different brains all looking at the same person, using the same system, but viewing the system differently, and then now we can't type, oh, well, it's Robert Downey Jr. Oh, this thing doesn't work worth the crap, because I say INTJ and you say ESFJ. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. is either of those, of course, but who cares, right? Look, all I'm saying, dude, this guy, I could go on. I could go on for as long as he did, if not longer. And I don't expect, say this guy were to see this video, I would not expect this to change his mind, right? I would expect him to be like, oh, he just don't even know. He don't even know. I told him it's a lie. I told him, how can you follow this if Carl Jung is hanging out with a demon? It's like, well, because Carl Jung is a total freak. But as I mean, he's dead now, but he was a total freak. And he was an alchemist, right? You didn't know that about him? But about a year ago, I followed someone on Twitter. Jane Fury is her name on Twitter, which I thought was probably not a real name, but it is an awesome name. And I saw that she posted an article that had to do with J.D. Salinger, and apparently a story he wrote. Now, Catcher in the Rye has been my favorite book for, like, I don't know how long, and I can't even really explain why. And apparently Salinger acknowledged at a certain point that he wrote it about a girl who was a very young age. I don't remember what it was, but it was between 8 and 13, something like that, when he was 30. Dude, it was the first time, it was like I was dealing with a similar situation, as in, like, you know, you hear about these people in Hollywood, there are these pedo allegations, and you know I'm not about that. And I just thought, geez, dude, as a fan, as someone from a distance, as a fan of certain products that come out of Hollywood, I thought, what would I do if somebody I actually respected was accused of that and convicted, right? I thought, could I still appreciate what the work they've done? And me and her had a exchange about it. Jane Fury. We had an exchange about it, and I just thought, man, could I look at Catcher in the Rye the same way? Because I think I've devoted all this time and this energy, this I guess, if nothing else, mental energy to this story. And now I find out that Salinger, at a certain point, you could say was a pedo, right? Is that wrong? As I've come to discover that even if you don't ever molest a kid, you know, if you're attracted to the kid, that in itself makes you a pedo. What do I do? So ultimately, come to the decision that yes, even if the origin of the work, you come to find out that in real life they were a sham, they were a lie, they were a piece of crap, you can still appreciate the work that they put out that meant so much to you at the time, because those things that you got out of it at the time were still real. They were still things that mattered. They still influence you in some way, and you can't get away from that. You shouldn't try to get away from that, and to do so is not only pointless, it's a waste of your time. Now, where am I going with all this? Whatever MBTI's beginnings, right, and Carl Jung being the freaky old man that he was, you can act like, oh, I've wasted all this time and I've been leading people down the wrong path and this is so twisted and all of y'all are still twisted and I've seen the light now. You can look at it that way. If I drop MBTI today and I never make another video, I can still say, made some good connections. I did learn some stuff about myself as well as other people. I came to see people in a different light. I didn't box them in because of their type, but I was actually more willing to reach out to them because they're doing this, but you know, they're not doing this to piss me off. They're doing this because they think this is helpful. Certain realizations like that are what you're supposed to come to. And if you say, well, yeah, most people don't do that. Most people don't do what they're supposed to do no matter what model of life they're living by. And again, I don't suggest that you live by MBTI. What I'm saying is you should still be able to take something away from it. This guy in this video talks a lot about how he feels so stupid and he feels like he's been, you know, he's talked about it so much to his friends and all this stuff. You were looking at it wrong then, and you're looking at it wrong now. Some things are what you make it, and even when you fail at certain things, you shouldn't just look at them like, well, that was a waste of time. If anything else, you should be learning from that experience, knowing what not to do anymore, and knowing what is still useful, and bringing that along with you.